Pharaoh, and I'm going to focus on the Swarm update again, but this time I'm going to mostly look at the Alien multi-tool that I got last week. Not last week, it was last week, Friday. So the idea is I will just kind of max that. I'll also run the missions, which I'll probably do first, and show you how you can kind of change multi-tool functionality a little bit. I'll get into that during the stream, but we'll see how that works out. I deliberately haven't launched the game because every time recently I've had the game running and then started the stream, for some reason the game would just crash out. So I've started outside of the game, so let's run that. So that will be popping up any second. And I'm not sure quite how long this stream will be. It probably won't be anywhere near as long as the 4 hours plus that the last stream was, where we were looking for this multi-tool, because that was kind of a bit too much. But I really wanted to find the multi-tool in S-Class, so that was that became a bit of an obsession, I suppose. I don't like not finding something, and I'm glad I did find it in the time. Controller activated. Right. So yeah, let's look at the multi-tool in a second. I have already grabbed a load of extra slots, which I'll demonstrate how I did that. And because I already knew where this supercharged slot was, when I got to the 4th line, I just chose the one that I wanted, which I guess is exploiting the fact that I couldn't unknow that. I looked it up on the save editor, so I didn't really have any choice. I could have just started from here, but I knew where it was. It just seemed silly not to just access it. And I've got 3 not the best modules already from Sentinels, and probably not the best S-Class modules, to be honest. If I thought that for a second. Yeah, there's only damage 1. I can probably get better ones of those as well, although it is quite an effective weapon even now. And as you can see, I was able to cluster everything to cover all 4 slots.
KingNick451 says, "Hi.
Ooh.
Your voice sounds echoey. Can you
That's
check your mic?"
probably because my mic was all the way over the other side of my room almost. It was like swung across over to where my PC was. I forgot to swing it in front of me. So that should sound better. Were you able to hear what I was actually saying, King Lich? Thanks for letting me know.
451 says, "Okay now."
Otherwise I can just quickly go over that again. Right, save that a second. I'm going to run the missions anyway, then I'll probably go over that again anyway.
451 says, "Yeah, it was understandable."
Cool. I'm surprised because my microphone was like a metre away from me and pointing the wrong way. So at least if you could understand me, I won't go over the whole thing again. Until I go over it in a bit more detail after we've run the missions, I guess. And of course, running the missions, we'll get a chance to use the multi-tool. So we'll see what it looks like and how it performs right now. I still have the other 2 multi-tools I picked up, but I don't plan on comparing them right now because that would take a lot of nanites. Have a habit of jumping out of the ship, and I don't really have to for this. All you really need to do is land and then access this and then take off again. Right, so I like to do the actual space combat last if there is one. So that's that one. Oh no, that isn't that one. That's the disassemble. That's Specialist Polo, and that is Fallen Swarm. So we don't have the space combat one today. Just as a note, some people are having difficulty where one of these just isn't available. It will just be blanked out. You need to completely shut the game down and reload the game in order to get past that. It will actually let you access it. You can see here I actually missed a couple of missions because I couldn't get past it. I was reloading. But what I wasn't doing was shutting the game right down and reopening it. And other people said they were able to do that. So I did test it the next time it happened, and it did seem to work. So give that a try if you're finding one of these isn't available. I actually thought maybe it was changing the way the mission was going. It was like limiting us for some reason, and there was going to be some story behind it, but no, that's not what was happening. So let's start with Polo's one, because that's usually really easy. Which is that one. He seems to be asking for a lot of biome-specific products. I can only assume that it's like trying to use things that might represent a bit of a rainbow effect. So it's going through different colours stuff, and the easiest way to do that is to just go through the different biome products. So red and yellow, green, blue, orange, grey. They did ask for that, but so I have a feeling it was going through these because they're differently coloured more than anything else, because obviously we're trying to make a prismatic thing that turns us from the three primary colours back into our normal selves, so it kind of thematically makes sense. So that was that one. I noticed, as I said last week, it keeps giving us nip nip. I wonder if they're kind of suggesting that we're all a little bit out of our minds at the moment, just like the Gek would be if they were using nip nip. Right, so next mission. What am I doing? Log. Track swarm activity. Fallen swarmer. Fallen swarmers. So that one's disassemble. And that one's receive data. So we'll go for disassemble first. They're both very similar missions, really. And again, I'll make my point. I wish there was more variety in these missions. But I do really think that this expedition is a little bit of a placeholder for what comes next. Even with really fast pulsing, some of these always feel a long way away.
Kinglig451 says, I do usually enjoy these community concerted efforts, but this does feels like a time gate for some other content.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't mind them. I've never had a problem with community time gating. I think to complain about it now is a little bit disingenuous because we've had so many of it. It started with Quicksilver items. Some of those were really expensive early on. They did reduce the price of a lot of them eventually, but it's to be expected with No Man's Sky. We will do, but it's just that I think combined with the fact that the expedition was so slim in content, and also combined with the fact that the time gated option is so long, it's like nearly 3 months worth. 2 months to about 8 weeks, wasn't it? 2 months. Then yeah, it feels a little bit drier than usual, put it that way. Right, so what have I actually got set up at the moment? I've got the bolt caster. I feel like these are relatively well. Let's get my new gun so we can test it out. Mining beam, trimilli gravity, no coil. it just keeps. I wish it wouldn't do that. It fades out just as you're selecting the weapons if you're not really quick, so you miss it. Some people were complaining that these aren't quite tough enough. I think these are plenty tough enough. I mean, they are easy to get around. You can just get a distance from them. But once they're zeroed in on you, they still chase you. If you start far enough away, then they don't come after you. I have my Steam controller set up that every time I take my finger off the trigger, it auto reloads. Which is quite handy, but then I find myself hitting reload anyway because my muscle memory just does it. Because I've been playing this game far too long, I guess. I mean, for me, any excuse to make a new save and see how we can use that new save is good enough for me. I don't mind waiting for the big update. And they could have just made something really short and simple. I guess they did in a way. Sometimes it will pick it up and then I think it just drops through the landscape. Because it's not under here. It's nowhere to be seen. I didn't get the actual corrupted Ica. It just fell through the terrain, I reckon. Right, where's my ship? Some minor mushroom beetles. Lesser mushroom beetles. One stalk away from greatness. Let's go back. Yes, I mean, I wouldn't complain about the expedition. I just feel like it could be just a little bit more varied if we're going to be doing this for 2 months. And they still have the option of dropping in things into this. It could change a little bit, but I don't think it will. I think it will just stay like this. I suppose it's changed a little bit in that they changed the way that the swarm now spawn in every time we, well, not every time, but quite often when we switch systems, and they've kind of replaced pirates, so other pirate spawns turn into them.
KingNick451 says, "This is my first expedition too. I was afraid that the other expeditions were going to be this prolonged."
It's not common. We have, what, on average, since expeditions started, we've had one community-focused mission a year, I would say. But not all of them are like this, where the whole thing is based around it. Some of them is just like secondary milestones, so you don't have to complete it if you don't want to. Whereas this one, clearly we have to. They want us to go through the story, which I think means that it's probably going to end up with something positive, something interesting. And I think, as I was saying last time I was streaming, I think that maybe the leak that we saw a couple of weeks before this expedition came out might be true, and I'm probably gonna touch on that leak later on. But I'll give an adequate spoiler warning for people that don't want to know about what might be coming. But we don't know if it's true. I mean, leaks like this are often not borne out fully. But I just feel like it had certain things about it that suggested it could be true.
51 says, what was the leak about? Or if you'll make a video about it, I can wait for that.
I'm not going to make a video about it. I'll talk about it later in this stream, I think. Captain Steve made a video about it. I think he said all that really needs to be said. And I don't really like spoiling things in videos too much. Especially if they might not be true. I'm not like a sensationalist video maker. I think it's a little bit sensationalized to say, oh, this is going to happen. Not that I think that Captain Steve's video was sensationalized. He just read it out and decided whether or not he liked it, and fair enough. But he's more of a daily content guy, whereas I'm a make content when I feel like it guy. Got a microprocessor. That's going to be frustrating. I might have to call in my... Pretty sure I've got one in my freighter. I don't really have to make one. Doesn't look like I have one there either. Yes, I do. I thought no, circuit boards. That's not right. Alright, we're going to have to make one. Just the one? That's not too bad then. Carbon nanotubes 3. Don't mind making those. So that's that done. But I will try and grab these parts. And usually that means we're going to have to fight, so let's do that. Oh, no, I've still got my bolt caster. Did that just fall off anyway? Is it going to let me disassemble it? Maybe it's not. For a while it did. I think it will. Let's try again. I think some of these aren't rendering in though, because look, it looks like there's one there and there isn't. I've had this happen a few times. Let's try and pull that straight through there. See, that just disappeared. Oh no, it's still there. It's just stuck. Another one? Probably not. It's not highlighting. I think that's it. That's all we're going to get. Not important because it wasn't part of the mission. Actually, while I'm here, put those. They're not circuit boards. I keep thinking, I've always had that confusion in my head. Circuit boards and microprocessors. I want to go back to the anomaly, don't I? Oh, we're getting a phone call. Hang on. I have a very surreal life. My mum was trying to sell me into buying some crypto. Anyway, enough on that and my weird life.
Kinglick451 says, well,
she's convinced this particular crypto, which I won't name because I'm not going to try and convince people to buy crypto, unlike my mum. She's convinced this one's going to make a lot of money. All right, where are we? I think we've done everything. Yes, yes, and yes. And there's very little point in me going back to my freighter, so because it's in this system. So what I'll try and do is go back to probably there. Hi, Ray Gilchrist. These missions again. Let me just. I should have my social media thing up so I can actually click on people's thing, but I won't be able to get her to read this one. I don't think. Let me just see if it's picked up on here. Oh yes, it is. That'll
Rachel
do.
Christ says, these missions are getting repetitive now. I'm only doing 3 a day. The +3 1, the -1 for other teams. After a reset, another +3 1.
I think. I mean, yes, obviously they're repetitive, and I mean it's not even as repetitive as some of them in the past have been, to be honest. The one where we had to get void motes was probably the most repetitive of all. However, I don't think we need to do multiples really. I probably do on average, probably less than 5 or 6. I don't think it's necessary to do more. There was that data mining point that said that it looks like maximum is 3 anyway. Whether that means 3 a day or 3 per 8 hours, like we already know, is difficult to tell because data mining doesn't tell us what the actual code does. It only tells us. Oh, that's not the right place. Oh, or is it? The data mining can only. Yes, it is. Data mining can only tell us what. What the files say. It can't tell us how the game uses those files. So, and to give them their credit, the data miners always say this, but everybody takes all of the data that data miners give them in weird ways, and they never really listen to what the data miners are actually saying. They just make up their own ideas about what's going on. So yeah, it may be we only need to do 3 anyway, and I think doing a few a day is enough to progress it, and then get on with your normal save or play a different game. I mean, it's not exactly taking us loads of time. It's just it would be nice if it was a little bit more engaging, because it's been giving me nip all the time. I've actually decided to plant some. I might get around to planting some more, but I haven't got the parts yet. I haven't got the double room yet. Might as well buy and sell. It's not an awful lot of money, but it's money. And if I turned over my whole freighter to it, I guess it would be more money. I've got one frigate. I've got the default frigate, but I've just been sending it out just because I can. Every time there's a trade expedition, I've just been sending it out. It's a couple, so I could probably send them both out. 26 minutes. It's still on the shorter missions. It usually expands later. I don't think I've got any. No, I haven't got any upgrades, and I haven't got the recipes for these yet either. So it might struggle, but it's got 1 star above. It could get damaged. It might not. It's only one frigate, it doesn't really matter. I might buy another trade frigate to back it up, I guess. I've got plenty of bits when I went pirating early on, so I might as well use them, I guess. Right, so back to the point of this actual stream. Funny you're talking about need more multi-tool slots, Ray, because that's one of the things I'm going to talk about now. So I got hold of, let's change that. Can't actually, let's change the actual active weapon a second. Can't see, but I'm using my on-screen Steam thing. That's still not worked. Why is that not working? Does it not let me change the weapon? Probably because I'm in the fray. I thought it would let me switch weapons, but obviously not. Okay, let's go to a planet. Let's go to my base. I was trying to. I did have. I did have a data file that I had dug out of the. Talking of data mining, that I dug out of the game files, that showed me what all of the rewards from the guilds were. I can't remember if any of them are multi-tool, and I was asking ChatGPT just in case it knew, and it just gaslit me and said there was no such file. So great. That's what AI is good for. And I just couldn't find it in the time I had available, so it's annoying, but I will find it at some point. But I'm sure one of them gave out multi-tool slots. Where did I put that? Right, weapon. I think you can do it in a... Yeah, of course you can. Right. So this motor tool I picked up in the last stream. Found the S-Class cabinet for. It's linked in the other video if you're Sage and want a nice green alien. I liked it. I used to use this in another save. I think it's still on one of my other saves. It's one of my go-to weapons. But I had to max out the top 3 slots so I could get to this last supercharged slot. And the way I do that, the most common way I like to do the grind for multi-tools, I will quickly demonstrate so that people know how to do it. Now you can just run missions. Usually you'll find in space stations some missions, but sometimes they can be a bit few and far between when you're looking for them. So coming here and asking what missions are available. And you will find that they are one of the missions here. I can't remember if it's one of the guild giveaways. I thought it was, but I couldn't work out which one. But even then, it wouldn't be every single guild in every single station. So what I tend to do is what we used to do before, which is go down to a planet. I just want to check that that's this planet. Hang on a second. That planet. So what I like to do is I like to go down to a planet. I like to pop all of the commercial things on that planet. I think there's only about 2 or 3 commercial not commercial, sorry. Let me get down to the planet, then I'll show. Right. So the old-fashioned way was always to go to the green secure site of interest charts. And you can keep popping these until you get the one that should come up now, manufacturing facility. Now there is a bit of a weirdness to this in that if you get something else, there's another type of factory, an operations facility. I think there's one there. And they both say manufacturing facility when you look at them. So you really want just the one. So what I tend to do is I go to one planet, like for instance this one, and I pop them until I get the manufacturing facility and the others that are available. So we've got all of them and I keep pressing it and there are no more. And I'll demonstrate that in a second when I've got here. So I don't go and visit anything. I just sit in one spot and just keep popping these until, like, I'm popping pop, and nothing's coming up. So at that point I know I've got enough. Then I go to the one that's definitely a manufacturing facility and not the factory or operations facility or whatever the other one it actually is. And that's the wrong one. That's the operations one. So I ignore that one. I don't want to land there because it will just pop it and I'd have to find another one. The right one will have a much smaller building. And depending on race, it will have a couple of towers, sometimes 4 towers for this particular race. I think this is a Viking system. Yeah, so it's got a couple of towers there. It's a smallish building. That's the one we want. It doesn't have an extra room anywhere. And then I answer this. Now there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either learn them all. You can get all of the free ways, I suppose. You can learn them all. You can get all of the language. And this is where the translators can be useful because they often have, if I click on the next one, they often have very long sentences. And that's where stacking translators actually does work. You may have heard that stacking translators doesn't work. Definitely does on long things like this because there are lots of unique words. And that's what the translators rely on. They rely on lots of unique words. I haven't got the translators. I can read the word Viking. Great. So I have got no clue from that, but that usually tells you a clue. I can hear pressurized fluids filling the pipes surrounding the terminal. The sound is rather ominous, especially when combined with the high intensity alarms. Now I think this one is like trying to tell that I'm Viking or not. And obviously I'm not Viking because I'm not big enough. So I pick up heavy debris and there you are, it unlocks it. So if you kind of know them from previous examples, then you know which ones. And the third way of doing this is just to cheat. And that would be come in here, try and do it, and then reload if you don't get the right one. And you'll be back at your spaceship and you can come in again and try a different option. So there we are. I can now click Create Multi-Tool Expansion Slot. And I get a nice multi-tool expansion slot, which is very nice. And I will probably end up putting it on here somewhere. Now, one of the negatives of this is that you have to sometimes go through a whole load of stories that don't give you expansion slots, which is frustrating. You kind of get to know them and which ones won't give you expansion slots. But you have to complete it in order to then pop the next one. Now what I tend to do, just to try and avoid confusion, is fly to a different planet. So this was the first planet I went to the other stream. where I looked for the green alien. And this planet has no points of interest marked at the moment. And now I can safely pop that thing and I won't get any confusion as to which one's the manufacturing facility. It will always just pop up the one I want, and that will be marked on this planet. So if we go again, pop first time. It doesn't always pop first time. You sometimes have to keep pressing it. Because I have marked every other type of thing, I think there's only the depot, I think, counts, and one different type of factory, and this. So there's only 3, I think. And I can always just know that whichever one I'm looking for is going to be the right one because it's on this planet, it's a manufacturing facility, and the others are on other planets. Which just takes out a little bit of the confusion. If you do want to do the slightly cheaty way of doing it, then I would recommend what you do is you save here, but after you've gone through and knocked out the door. So I shoot the door, and then if I was going to cheat, I would hit here. So I've got to save quite close by with the door open, so I don't have to keep doing that bit over and over again. And then just run in, see what the question is, and then see what your answer is. Terminal flash an urgent warning. Some vital part of the facility has been compromised by this security alert. A load of text I can't read. The display takes me aback. The warrior's heart is on screen. Its beat irregular, connected to wires and artificial. This one, I don't believe, gives you a multi-tool. And that's where you have to kind of go through a load that potentially don't. And I think the Viking set, although I think it's the shortest number of different questions you can be asked, has actually got the most that you don't get a multi-tool for. The Gek one is probably the best. It has the most you get the multi-tool for. But it does have a sequence where you don't get any. Increased electrical flow, initiate drilling flow, power down systems. I think this is making Gragra. Let's try that. I don't think it will work. I'm going to demonstrate the reload anyway. So that was a failure. But I can reload the restore point now. And I can cheat it. Now, whether or not you want to cheat it is another matter. I kind of play quite vanilla in some saves. In other saves, I don't mind exploiting. This particular expedition I'm not that bothered about. I'm not going to keep this save long term. But so I can go back in and I can just choose something else. See, that was the correct answer because I got that blue. And we can create... Oh, it is one we could get an expansion slot. Sorry about that, I pressed the wrong button. I was trying to press that button. So I've now got a couple of multi-tool expansion slots. I could just rinse and repeat and do that over and over again. Some manufacturing facilities won't give me one, but a lot of them do, especially if you're in a different type of system. I say Gek systems are probably the easiest. I just happen to be here and I don't mind grinding. But that's one way you can get multi-tool slots without too much effort and on a reliable basis. This is one of the reasons I often say you don't really need money in this game anymore. There are lots of ways of doing things. They introduced the multi-tool slot into manufacturing facilities about 3 years ago maybe. And ever since then, I mean, what would be the point of buying a multi-tool slot? You might as well just grind for them. And that was one of the most expensive things in the game. It was the most expensive thing in the game, actually. Right, I want to go back to my freighter really. Because I'm in a particular area I want to stay in. So I mean, the expensive things like multi-tool slots are more expensive than, say, for instance, ship slots.
Rage or Christ.
No problem. That's the whole point of watching someone that plays this game too much, picking up tips. Yeah, the slots for ships were just as expensive, but they reduced the price. But they never reduced the price of multi-tool slots, and it just seems a bit weird because we can get around it. We don't have to actually buy them, unless it's trying to encourage us to actually play the game, I guess. But I don't know. Is a grind like that actually playing the game? I'm not sure if I would call it playing the game. You're learning law, though. I mean, all of those manufacturing facilities, especially if you have the language, you kind of learn about the races. That's quite nice. So it's encouraging you to do that. Right, now I'm going to go and see what we find in this particular space station. And put those slots in. See what the cabinet is. It's only C on both, right? And you can choose a slot. You can ignore the one it says. I know some people don't seem to realise that, but I'm going to put them around this supercharged slot just in case I can get a better layout at some point. I don't think I will. I think this is probably optimal, but that's supercharged and that's supercharged. So putting one here might be handy. So we'll see. And then I'll put the other one maybe there. We'll worry about that later when we've got some better modules. So one of the things I want to do today, and it probably won't take an awful long while, is try and get some better Sentinel mods, because I really like the Boltcaster. But the reason I like the Boltcaster is that you can kind of change the way it operates. If we go down to a planet, we'll go down to one of the planets here. We go down to a planet. Is that a desolate planet will do? These white desolate planets are where builders love to have their research and development bases. I often seek them out if I want a research and development base, because at the poles the lighting can be much nicer. Right, so currently my Boltcaster is like a bit of a burst weapon. So if we watch, it's firing in bursts. There's a bit of recoil, which I think you can minimize if I change to the combat scope.
KingNick451 says, cool.
So that's how it works at the moment, but you can adjust this is the only weapon you can do this with, but you can adjust how it operates by changing which different things you have on the S-Class slots. You can't change it much on these because they always have the same thing. So these will always have fire rate, reload time and damage. Whereas these have like about 5 different things. Clip size, fire rate, reload time, damage burst cooldown, and...
Kinnick451 says, yeah, scope does reduce the recoil. Very good with pulse splitter.
Yeah, I'm on one of my videos I do plan to make, I'm going to demonstrate how using gyro aim. So at the moment, while I'm shooting, I use gyro. But you could also make that work by having the automatically select the combat scope. Trouble is, it would have to just select whichever the secondary weapon is, which is a little bit awkward. But then combined with gyro, you're zoomed in. If you set that up just right, that would be quite an effective way of using a weapon. So I'm going to make that video at some point. Right, so my next step is some of these here. I think all of them are just +1 damage. Oh, there's one of them's +2 damage. And I'd like to have a little bit more damage first before I start worrying about the S-Class modules. So the best way of doing this is the only way really, is to farm Sentinels. So we want a nice planet where we can farm Sentinels. We could just do a few missions at the same time actually, like for instance the factory missions. I didn't check to see what missions were available in this system. Because that way we don't really even have to worry about how much what the Sentinel activity is, because there will always be Sentinels of those. But first off, what I definitely forgot to do, and the whole point of getting it, was scan all the planets, because I got the scanner. Planetary probe thing. So I might as well use it. So that's got high Sentinel activity. So is that. So is that. That one hasn't, and that one has. So all of these have got high Sentinel activity. None of them are in red, so it doesn't... Some of them, if you land on the planet, you immediately get attacked. So none of them are in red. Desolate might be the best one. For, usually has space depending on the planet. So yeah, I might go there. But first of all, I'm just going to double check the space station. Not that one. Current system. I find it odd that that has the currents thing, even when the prismatic core isn't currently running. I know it's because I have it in my log at the moment. So it's currently the one I have, and if I just select that, I can get rid of it. But I would have thought, as it isn't currently active, it shouldn't be there. But I guess it's just because it's the active one. Right, so we've got a storage augmentation, but I don't really need those anymore. Have I got one slot I haven't done? Yeah, I've got one slot I haven't done, so maybe I'll do that, but you also get his walking downstairs that don't exist. You see that? That's odd. I think it's registering that there are steps here somewhere and it's just walking down the wrong way. Definitely want that. I don't think this one gives them. I can't remember. I haven't got my list in front of me, and I couldn't find the file thing that I could make a new list up. Right, so I'm going to try and update this. So I might as well do it just for the sake of popping down to a planet. Take a photo on a strange world. Start mission. We'll do that in a bit. But there isn't one here for... Oh no, the planetary harvester, that'll do. I don't care what the reward is. I'm just going to go and do that one. It will take me to some sentinels. That one. Stop switching the mission out. The number one tip that people don't seem to know, especially when they start the game. Look at the bottom right hand corner where it says forward thinking research. It's now gone off the screen. You can get it back by clicking the left D-pad or H on the HUD. And they can also cycle through whatever is currently asking you to do. Just by keep left on the D-pad or H on our keyboard. That is a quality of life update that they slipped into the patch notes a year and a half, 2 years ago maybe, and hardly anybody even noticed. Yeah, definitely you probably said this a while back and it probably even read it out, but yeah, the pulse splitter has got quite a big kick, and using the combat scope with the pulse splitter is definitely worth it. Hang on, I just saw that a minute ago, now I've lost it. Is that it? No, that's it. There you go. I presume that's it. It looks like it. Yes, it is.
Threat detected. Radiation protection falling.
Get the mission out of the way first, because it's timed. If you forget to do it, you miss your chance.
Radiation protection falling.
Switch weapons. Oh, stop healing him. Oh, how many healers are there? It's nearly worn me down. Look.
Kingnick451 says, "Yeah, so annoying."
Life support power low. Radiation protection.
This is not the best place to be doing this. Radiation problems as well. Now, usually I wouldn't kill that one, but I'm going to wait until the next round farming these. I don't like this planet, so I might do this again somewhere else. Oh, it's immediately gone to 5. Great. I might have to just wipe these out. That was on 4, not 5. Now the best thing about using a bolt caster instead of a like a wide scatter weapon of some kind is that I don't actually have to shoot this guy at all, and he's not going to take any damage of me shooting things near him, so I can just keep farming whatever he brings in. over and over and over.
Weather update. Storm clearing.
Again, this isn't the best place to be doing this.
Acknowledging. Recharge. Acknowledging. Recharge.
So if I was using a neutron cannon there, for instance, he would have taken damage and potentially have blown up, which would mess up the whole system. Come down here, I don't want you all up there. You gonna come down? No. You'll come down in a minute, I'm sure. So at the moment what I'm basically doing is I'm farming salvaged glass. It's just going slightly faster than my gyro. Come on. This is very easy and a little bit boring, to be honest, after a while. It's just like, how many salvage glass do you want? But what we can do, theoretically, is pop them and see if we've got what we want, and then decide whether or not we want to continue or not. So I've got 4 weapon shards there.
Extreme radiation detected.
KingNick451 says, "Ha. You can shoot those green HP containers."
Yeah, you don't have to go and pick them up. When they initially did it, it looked like they used to get different things, so a lot of people just pick them up anyway, but you always get the same things now. I think there might have been a subtle difference at one point. Oh, I just switched weapons by mistake.
Radiation protection falling. Radiation
just bringing in healers at the moment.
Radiation protection falling.
I apologise if using the gyro is a little bit wobbly on the stream. I'm trying to get used to gyro.
Radiation protection falling.
Dialed it down so I don't get too motion sick, but I am quite susceptible to motion sickness in games.
Weather warning. Incoming storm.
Which is why I'm not in first person mode. Apart from the fact that I don't think first person mode is ideal for streaming. What we got now?
Radiation protection falling.
So we've got 9. So we're doing pretty well. I think I probably only want about 10 or so just for the sake of testing. I can always do this off stream. So we've got... We might have enough now. Let's...
Radiation protection falling.
Nope. A couple more. Not every barrel will have them, and then not every time you pop them will you get the fig you want.
Radiation protection falling.
Let's see what we got now.
Radiation
10, that'll do.
falling.
What I'll do is I'll just finish off this wave. Ooh, I might have run out of ammo. The reload didn't kick in, so... No, it did then. One of the best things about having a nice gun is at least you can wipe through the
Warning.
sentinels.
Detected. Radiation protection falling.
Ooh. Those healers are really effective against. They really heal up the mechs and other things like it really fast, which is a bit annoying. So they're always worth just getting out of the way first in this instance. We used to be able to do 2 of these. Oops, I've got a bit of damage there. We used to be able to do 2 of these, but they've stopped. It's stopped working now. We used to be able to get 2 walker brains. They've obviously fixed it.
Radiation damage detected.
must be it, surely. Got a sentinel here somewhere that I can't see. Oh, there's one. There's just one healer. There we go. So, and when we get onto the leak element, it could be a bit of wish fulfillment in the leak. But that mentions actually having slightly more challenge in planet fighting. We will see. I'll do that towards the end of the stream so that I'm not spoiling if people don't want to know.
Radiation protection falling.
I always like to do these. As we swarm with void dragons, robotic lifeforms would delight in our presence, but organics would shoot us from the sky. But we had no fear of death. We knew we had never been alive. Nice. I'll probably scrap it, but A class, not to be sniffed at. Right, so where are we? So we've got a bit more glass from there. So we now have 12 weapon shards that we can pop.
451 says, was that a multi?
Yeah, that's a royal multi-tool. I haven't got it on active at the moment. Let's switch back to it. I switched off of it. You can't see me switching multi-tools because I use an on-screen thing. I'll show you that in a bit. That's a royal multi-tool, and my favourite colours are blue and gold for royals, and actually I quite like blue and silver, possibly slightly light blue and silver more, but that's a nice one. Unfortunately, A class, they have an overlap. It's basically the same as an experimental, which means that really it's best for things like scanning, which is not something that you really need a multi-tool to be good at. But I do like the look of them, and they look like royal or exotic ships, and they kind of go with the outfit, the more royal outfit we recently got, the one from the other expedition this year. So I really like them. Obviously I'd prefer that was an S class, but yeah, and one of the problems with experimentals, if you claim them at A, because they've got overlaps in their stats, it is technically possible for you to not get as good a multi-tool when you upgrade. It can slightly drop in some stats, which is frustrating. A bit like Sentinel ships. So you get royals from the those, what are they called? It's a proper name for them. Sentinel pillars, is it? I haven't got the right chart there. I think I've got it in my freighter. So probably can look at it because I have it in this system.
Kinglig451 says
Sentinel boundary maps. They find Sentinel pillars. The terminal at the Sentinel pillar, basically. I can do it as we're in the right system for that multi-tool. I can demonstrate. Just like normal multi-tools, you can change based on where you reload. So in this case, it would usually change the color, but also the seed and the stats. Let's hand this in first. Shall I quickly do that first? Yes, do that first before we start worrying about this multi-tool, while we're on the subject. So I go into my freighter, pick up my other two. I wasn't going to use them for anything, so I might as well pop them as a demonstration.
Data received.
Too close to the space station, obviously. Once you've found a royal, because they're not always going to be royal, but they're usually system based as to what's in them. So we'll see what's on this one. Once you found a royal, then you can reload on different planets and you'll get different color variations. And they will be the basic royal colors you get from exotics. So you can try and find a combination that matches your exotic ship, for instance. Unfortunately, green isn't a royal colour. Might as well shoot these. Just because I get a bit more salvage glass. I'm still using them. I was wondering why it wasn't shooting, but I'm still using the royal multi-tool. As you can see, it's a kind of pistol. Only one hand wielding. But if it matches your outfit, it can look quite cool. Manifesting personality. What's the hive? The Atlas dreamt that we had form, and thus we had form. The Atlas dreamt we had a home, and so an archive became a universe. Our depository of accumulated data became a heaven and a hell. If you could live there, you would see only light. You would see only glass, realm of glass. This is where the Sentinels are. See, here we have the same multi-tool. And it's actually the same colour, which is interesting, but it's probably because we last reloaded in the same place. I'm not going to extract it. I'm going to log off. Now, if I reload here, you should still get an A-class Royal, but it should be in a different colour combination and with a different seed and therefore different...
Radiation protection.
Actually, it might even have the same seed. I didn't check where the supercharged slots were. That would tell us. So there we have a grey and gold one, for instance. And every planet we reload on, we will get a different colour combination. Supercharged slot there. It's not clear to tell if that probably is supercharged.
Kinglig451 says, this would look nice on my character.
The grey one. I mean, if you want this one specifically.
Kinglig451 says, yep.
If you want this one specifically, then these are the glyphs. If we go to the right place. That should have worked automatically, but there you go. They're the glyphs. So you can always come back and screenshot that or whatever. And the exact location of this particular terminal is minus 14.94 plus 119.17. So it's an A class. You might be able to find an S class somewhere else on a different system. I mean, it's not going to be that bad. If you upgrade that, it could still be quite nice. It's, as I say, they come out a bit like experimental multi-tools. They're not bad multi-tools. They're just not the absolute best weapon.
5-1 says, mine is B. Does it take long to find an S?
Well, for Royals, yes, because you have to keep going to different systems and finding different pillars. So yes, Royals are a pain in the neck for finding S. In fact, for a long while, they didn't even seem to be possible in the game, and then they seemed to fix it. Because as you saw, I went to 2 different cabinets and I got an A class both times, and that's because all of the cabinets here will be the same multi-tool and they will be A class. You'll find an S class cabinet if you go somewhere like the Coordinate Exchange. Make sure it's a recent one, just like I found the other day when I was looking for my green S class. I went to a cabinet that I'd already found an SID before, but it must have changed in the Worlds update. So make sure it's a post-Worlds update multi-tool, just to be sure. And then again, whatever the find is, the person that posted that find might not realise you can get different colour combinations by loading elsewhere. Or they might not have listed the colour combinations in their post. So it's worth doing that. This is finished now. Now, I'm not going to cheat here. I'm just going to use the normal system. But there are ways of cheating this. I'll go over it as well for those that don't mind doing that. I'm going to pop all of these. Oh, I don't want to put them in this multi-tool. Hang on. So this is the green alien that was the S class. I'm going to move these across here a second, just give myself some space so I can see where I am. I'll use these 9 slots here. So I use these slots here to put them in. Obviously I'm overloading it because I've already got 3, but it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this. And what I'm looking for specifically is damage +2 on a 3 stat. And I don't think any of these. Oh, there's a damage +2 on a 3 stat. So that's a good one. That's one of the ones I'm looking for. So I'll probably keep that one. But the others I will just delete. That's damage +2. I might keep that temporarily while I'm looking for a better one. So this one is better. Let me just move these. Oh, these aren't in supercharged slots, so they're fine. So this is +2, fire rate +19. So it's better than that one. So we'll get rid of that one. Put that there. So we've got a 2 there. Got a 2 there. They're both pretty good. This one's only a damage 1. And I might maybe just put that there for now. put that there because that's a damage 2, and we'll see if it does a bit more damage. I'll maybe compare them in a second. But while we're here, I'll just quickly show you how you can cheat this. I'll make a save. And what we do is we pop a load. We've only got 3 left. 1, 2, 3. Check to see if any of them are good ones. Like that very first one is a good one, so I'm going to just go for that anyway. So I don't have to cheat even. Check to see if any of them are good ones. And so let's, for instance, imagine that the third one was a good one. Then what we do is we reload. Oh, I just saved. What you do is you reload. I've just messed it up. You reload, and then you, instead of putting them in, you take a module out. You put it here, and then put it back in again.
LOL.
And then by doing that, you refresh it, so that will move it on one more. So if it was the third one, I'd do that twice. Put that there, and then put it back again. And then I'd pop the third one, and it would be the one that we saw. And that way you can do a whole list. You could do, if I still had all 9, then I would make 9, see which one was a good one, and then do that, take it out and put it back in, take it back and put it back in that number of times, and then pop the next one, and it'll be the one I'm looking for. So you can cheat it that way. It's a little bit cheesy. I don't really like doing it, and I made a mistake, so I wasn't even able to do it. But yeah. Hi, Alpha. It's good to see you. All right, I'll get rid of that one. Let's put that one there. So they're as good as we can get for. I mean, I could probably really go and do that loads and loads and get slightly better reload times. I think possibly the reload -15 is about as good as you get. I'm not sure what the stats are. I don't focus on these stats that much. I just like to get that +2 damage. Now the next one is these, and these are just a matter of finding better ones. So that's +1 damage, that's +1 damage, that's +2 damage. So I want to try and find some that are +1 damage in those, 2 damage in those 2 slots. So I need to find a space station where they sell them. And we can maybe cheat the system to show that properly without saving accidentally. Here.
Alphas195 says, I'm really giving the Boltcaster a chance in this expedition.
Well, the Boltcaster is an amazing weapon, and the reason I like it, as I was saying really early on, is you can be flexible. But until I've got a load of different modules, I can't really demonstrate that flexibility. So I'm going to try and get a number of S-class modules to just show what I mean by that. We can find some first. There we are, Boltcaster. Now I never really mind save scumming these because, well, the recoil does get reduced by the combat scope. So if you actually make a point of using the combat scope.
Alphas195 says, the recoil is what really me off.
Sorry, I did that thing that I'm always doing, of answering questions or making comments on something that people are saying before it pops up. Yes, as I was saying, the recoil, you can mitigate it somewhat with the combat scope.
Alphas195 says, okay, I'll try that.
Right, let's get few of these because I really want to demonstrate how these change. So you're going to have to put up with me just reloading a few times here, but I really want, let's say 9, because we've got those 9 slots that are easy to fill. So we'll do 9 of them. Oh, wrong activation point.
Order received.
Luckily, I've got a reasonably fast PC, so I can reload relatively quickly.
Order received.
Alphas195 says, also I'm not sure if they changed something recently, but now you can't farm sentinels at alert level 2 indefinitely by leaving the summoner intact.
I literally just did that 5 minutes ago before you turned up.
Alphas195 says, it automatically increases the alert level after some time.
Well, I was doing it at level 4, not level 5. I don't like to do it at level 2 or whatever it is. Wait until level 4 and do it. I just basically did it and it was working fine. It didn't upgrade to level 5 until I actively shot the summoner. And then obviously I wanted to because I decided that was the end of it. So yeah, you can still do it. I definitely just did it. And I have video evidence. Just rewind and have a look. I think I have seen it happen though, as you say. I think I have seen it upgrade on the lower one. But I've just got into the habit of always doing it on level 4.
95 says, we'll all try level 4 then.
How many have I got now? I haven't been counting. Let's grab this one and then have a look.
Order received.
Right, so we've got 7, so we want a couple more. Then I'll use the ship for saving and save scumming these because that will be a lot easier. I know I usually, if I ever do this save scumming routine, I usually use a ship, and I find it's a lot more intuitive and less prone to me clicking the wrong thing than using a save point like I did earlier. Because I can stand away from the ship and not be tempted to just... And if I accidentally jump into it, it's when I jump out that it matters. So I've got like a double stage of stopping myself doing the wrong thing.
Order received.
Right, let's save first. Step back from the ship a bit so I'm not tempted to jump in it. Now I want a few different ones, which is why I'm going to be save scumming it just to demonstrate.
Gravnaut says, good morning people.
Hi Gravnot, good to see you.
The space station would be nice.
Yeah, maybe. Wouldn't be a bad idea. I think a rethink on how save work would be nice. Right, so what we got here? That's damage 1. That's damage 2. That's damage 2. That's damage 1. I think you can get damage 2 point something. I'm not going to worry too much about that. But sometimes if you put them in a supercharged slot, they'll be damage 4. And sometimes they'll be damage 3. Let's put that one there and we'll see if we can demonstrate that. So we put, let's move. That's just damage 2, even though. So that's probably 1 point. That's probably around about 1 point something. Or 2.4, say. That's damage 2 in a supercharged slot. It's not going to do anything here. Put that one there. It only increases by, I think it's 25%. I don't remember my stats. I was doing a lot of research into how the maths work. A bit like I did with the hyperdrive. But I couldn't get the maths to be elegant enough to actually show people. Right, so 1, 2, 1, 2. So I don't think I moved them in the wrong positions. In fact, just to be 100% sure, I'm going to reload.
Lord says, hoo. So those are just rounded integer values. I'll have to hide us in the SC slots.
Yes, they are just rounded integer things. So you can sometimes see a slightly higher number. Although I don't know if this particular weapon is the one to really do it in, to demonstrate it.
195 says, gonna be in audio only mode for a bit. Going for my evening walk.
Okay, well I won't expect you to chip in, but have a good walk. Right, I'm going to do this again just to make sure I didn't move anything. Because I did move them around a bit, so I don't want to get the wrong ones. Like I say, I don't like this kind of saves coming in a normal save, but in this I'm not that bothered. So 2, 4, and 7. Is that right? 2, 4, and 7. Let's put that in the chat.
Pharaoh Euclid says, 247.
Right, so now I want to let's step away from the ship a bit. I want to pop them, but I don't want to top the first one. I just want to top the second one. So we move this. Of course, they might have fixed this, but I doubt it. So on the second one, that's damage 2. Then we want to move that for number 3. Move it for number... Oh, no, we want number 4. So we want to pop the next one. That's number 5. Let's double check that was right. Yeah. That's number 6. That's number 7. So 2, 4, and 7. And they've all got 2. And then I will save that. I know the next 2 are not going to be, because we did 9 and the other ones weren't, so I'll do 2 more. And then we'll pop the rest. So 1. Oh, I should have reloaded. Hang on. Do that again. Let's do this properly. Otherwise we'll confuse ourselves. So we've got those 3. And 2 more. 1, 2. Now we want to make a save. And then we'll pop these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one's a 1, that one's a 1, that one's a 2, that one's a 1, that one's a 2, that one's a 2. So we want number 3, number 5, and number 6.
Pharaoh of Euclid says 3, 5, 6.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it was number 5 and number 6, wasn't it? I've just messed one up. Never mind. We'll grab the 6 and we'll carry on. So we've got all of those now. We just got the. Have I wasted one? No, I haven't wasted one. So let's reload here. Actually, I don't need to reload. I just need to save. Right. So 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. So none of those. One, 2, 3, 4. Reload. Not reload, just save. Plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. So none of those. I don't want to do this for too long, so if we don't get any on this one, I will probably just leave them. We've got enough to be playing with. One, 2, 3, 4. It was 4, wasn't it? If after a while you just get bored and your brain starts to shut down. You're not even sure how your numbers. You go a bit number blind, or at least I do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. So that's plus 2. So it's the second one. At least we'll have 6 to play with. So plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, and plus 2. Right, so what have we got here? We've got clip size 8. And let's see if any of the others have got clip size. That's clip size 8. So these are both clip size ones. And burst cooldown. They've all got burst cooldown. Have these got burst cooldown? Yes. No. No. So that's nice. So let me put these that let me put these somewhere separate. These ones have got clip size difference. And the rest don't. So if I take these out, what have we got here? We've got burst cooldown, clip size, and clip size. So we take that one out, and we put in the clip size one.
What's the best damage stat on X class that you can get for Bowcaster? +4.
It will be higher. I can't remember for sure. And obviously, yes, the next stage after we've statted this out with S class is start looking for X class. But of course, the problem with X class is that you really need to get a lot of them and go through them, because it can take a while to find a really good one, because you can get really rubbish ones. But you would do exactly the same process. I have a feeling it might be 4. I can't be sure. Right, so now I have put these into here, and they've all got +10 clip size. We go down to a planet and we can compare with that and then with different things without the clip size emphasized, and you'll see a very different style of multi-tool. So that one now just feels like it's... Do you remember the way I had it configured previously? It was a slightly different type of configuration. It felt very different. This now feels much more like a rapid fire weapon. Whereas before it was much less like that. So if we switch back again, let's put those there. And what are we doing? Yes, there. If we emphasize something different, put those in. So this doesn't have a clip size boost. This doesn't have a clip size boost. And this doesn't have a clip size boost. See, that's got a different profile. I mean, it's similar. In fact, that actually feels a little bit nicer. And it's probably because it has more bullets per clip. I mean, per burst. So, for instance, if we look again at those stats, that one's got a fire rate plus 38. That one doesn't. That one doesn't. So I think you can get the point I'm trying to make here is that by emphasizing different stats or balancing the stats out, you can change the profile of the bolt caster to suit what you want it to do. So I'd probably be quite happy with this because it's firing a lot of lead quite a while before I have to reload. But you might find that increasing the clip size gives more damage, for instance, and you just play around with it until it's like the weapon you want it to be. And no other weapon really does it to the extent of the bolt caster, just because we get these extra we get an extra fire rate and damage and reload time from these, which just makes it even better on those particular stats. So you could theoretically, as an example, really emphasize fire rate, because they've already got pluses on fire rate here, and we could get 3 different ones that had high fire rates, and then you'd say but it wouldn't necessarily burst in the same way. So that's why I like the bolt caster, because of that. And you can see the recoil is not that high when you get to S. I don't think that's that bad. A little bit of a recoil. Obviously with the... You get the same amount of recoil with combat scopes in physically on screen. But that represents a shorter distance. I like this setup actually. This feels almost like a constant stream. Yeah, I might stick with that.
Kinglig451 says, that is pretty fast.
It is pretty nice, isn't it? I don't know if it's the absolute optimum for the weapon, but it is nice. It's got a nice pace to it. And obviously the next stage of min-maxing this would be to go and get X classes. And the way you would do that, if you're not familiar, is you would find Pirate Station that sells them. Or you could theoretically wait for an on-planet seller, one of those ships that just lands. And I think they might have made it so that you can only get limited ones on in the pirate stations, but you can get more from the guy that lands. So if you happen to see a guy landing nearby with the little green icon, I think you can buy more from him for each module. I haven't tested that for a while, but I think that's correct. One of the things that's always the case with No Man's Sky is you'll swear blind that something's true, and then when you go to test it again, they've changed it. So you can never, whenever you're giving advice, you really need to have just tested it before you say, yeah, this definitely works. And I haven't tested it recently, so I'm not going to swear by it. So yeah, the other thing you can do, obviously, if you've got multiple weapons, is you can set up your bolt caster in different ways on different weapons. So then you can kind of test them more directly between different weapons that way, until you find the setup you really like. Right, so do we have a bolt caster here? No, we don't. But luckily, I now have about 4 or 5 pirate stations in my teleport list, and you can teleport between them, so we'll do that. Down to the bottom. Maybe they're no longer there. I have been to a lot of stations recently, so I might have wiped them off of my list. I might have wiped them off of my list. Yep, I've got none in there now. Alright, we'll go looking. There's one. I'm just going to keep shooting these because I am kind of farming them for nanites. I don't get a lot of nanites because I think it's 5 to 1 for the Ica, but you know, they're right there. They're just asking to be shot. Actually being kept at bay by my squadron, so I had to shoot it from a distance. See what this one's got. Bolt caster, there we go. Now I'm pressing left and right and it's not changing. We only seem to be able to buy one. Just check all of these. Yeah, we only seem to be able to buy one at a time, much like an ordinary space station. The last time I saw a guy land next to me and I tried to buy modules, I'm pretty sure I was able to buy 2 or 3 of them. So it can be more efficient if you see a guy landing. I'll get 3. Just quickly demonstrate that you can also do the same method with these. But I won't actually sit and do it because these could take a lot longer. In a more vanilla save, I would just buy loads of them and wait until I get a good one. I wouldn't save scum them at all. Right, did I just jump in and out? I think I did. Walk away from the ship a bit. So I'll pop all 3. See if we get a good one. got a reasonable one. +2, +2. They have made these a little bit better. They adjusted the way that they worked a little while back, so they're more likely to be good ones. So we've got 4 stats, and 3 stats. So that one's obviously a bit of a dud, but these two are both pretty good. That bear's cooldown's a bit low though. So that first one's probably worth it. But then if I just wanted that one, I could just load that anyway. So reload restore point. So obviously if I just wanted that first one, I would pop it. And then I'd probably keep it somewhere. And then reload. Not reload, make a save. Then check the next 2 out. So that's +2, it's got 4. That's only +1. I wouldn't say that was great. I think we checked these already, hadn't we? So reload. I could have just popped those before. I'll do it now. So 1, 2, actually no, this is the point where we save, so we're not having to do that over and over again. 1, 2. So that second one is better. I wouldn't say that's great either, but if we wanted that second one, then we would now reload, we'd get rid of the first one and do the second one, which would quickly demonstrate to prove it works. So we'd get rid of the first one, put it back, and then pop the second one. That's the one with the 4 stats. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to reload and ignore those for now, because that is something that you can just kind of spend hours on trying to find the best X-class modules, and that can take forever. And something I often don't bother with. I often just get the best S I can, and then I just buy a few X's every now and again and see if they're better than the ones I've got for S, and just move on. I don't worry about, even in saves where I actually do kind of min-max and for testing purposes and stuff, I still find it really boring to go through all the X's. It's just too much. But I'm going to buy another one. I'll do it another time, and possibly buy a few things that are actually worth getting. Hyperdrive is worth getting. Pulse engine's worth getting. I don't think shield modules are really worth getting. Movement modules can be worth getting. I don't really think phase beam are worth it. Infraknife I don't like. Maybe life support, but I've got a few of those anyway. I'll pop those later. So what time is it? It's still a couple of hours before the stuff, before the next mission. To my freighter. Oh no, let's do this mission. Let's get that out of the way. may not have noticed, but currently we can't do pirate missions in the expedition. So going to a space station and getting please kill a pirate. Because if we do, we just get endless streams of those, which is good if you want to farm those, but not good if you wanted a pirate mission. So this was a return to the mission. We didn't actually hand it in. So let's hand that one in.
Units received.
And I also have a couple of missions in my log, and one, yeah, I've got kill some creatures and take a landscape photograph. Is it off? It doesn't say. Oh, that's miles away. So I probably need to go to the space station for that. I should, if I've got it highlighted. I've got it activated in my log. Give me the local space station for the mission. Otherwise I can reset it, but there we are. Does it actually say? It's not telling me which type of thing it is. It's a strange world from memory. So one of these must be a strange world. Plated, that'll do. Yeah, although space station missions can be a little bit boring, I quite like grinding them just because you get good rewards, and they also, the rewards are what's the word, balanced to your current progression. So at the beginning of the game it will give you things that are useful at the beginning of the game, and the further you do, the more you do, and the higher you progress, the better the rewards tend to become. And so before long you start to get rewards like slots for your ship and things like that, which obviously are pretty nice. I'm just going to wait for a second, because sometimes it doesn't immediately register, and if you give it a little bit of time it can. Yep, it's done it. I didn't scan, I didn't get my requisite 250 nanites. Obviously my ship was getting in the way there. What is going on?
Units received.
Let's have a smaller hitbox than some of the others. Right. I also want to see if there's anywhere with a decent number of fauna. 12. Nothing underground by the look of it. That wasn't the one. Hang on, which one was it? That one? Nope. That one? Yes. Flying, underwater ground. When you have a ground like that, way at the bottom, underneath all the other grounds and beyond, that usually means it's something more recent. Like, for instance, a large insect. Dreda. I might as well kill two birds with one stone. I might as well go there and scan and also do the shooting creatures mission that I have in my log. Can't even remember what the reward is for this one. It's been there for ages. Creature's 1 of 14, so I must have killed something at some point. We're heading towards a water area. How many underwater are there? Three. Underwater. Switch to the oops. What happened there? That's one of them. Two of them, and then I think the other one might be an underwater predator. Not that he's got anything to eat apart from crabs here. Let's go a bit deeper. Usually they only spawn when you get deeper. Just be another crab. There he is. Okay. Is that rare? It's unusual to have a rare. Yeah, it was. Usually the rares are something else. Right, rare ground, rare flying, rare ground. Everything else should be relatively easy to find. easy to shoot stuff on land anyway. Bumpy landscape.
Received.
4.3 meters, that's pretty big. We can get above 5 meters. Flower cat. Just over that ridge.
Units received. Units received. Units received. Units received.
This is not the best place to go shooting fauna. We've got all these strange ones and they take a lot of shooting. Oops. Didn't want to shoot that. There's all that talk of shooting things. There we It keeps getting in the way of it. Okay, got that. One more creature. What is it? Uncommon flying diurnal. Right, let's move around. If you're looking for an extra flyer, it's easier to just head in a direction and listen out for a bird call noise. Oh, there they are. It wasn't a bird call noise, but never mind, it worked. Okay, so we've got 3,000 nanites. Nice. Right, let's go and shoot some. If they haven't despawned at night time. Might have done. They take too much shooting. I'll demonstrate, because usually these can be a pain in the neck. No, it wasn't too bad actually. But I upset the Sentinels. My most common phrase in the game. Where did I park my ship? These are really tough sometimes. I think I've got a pretty good weapon at the moment, but these can be really tough to kill.
Warning. Sentinel probes activated.
I think I got him. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just I've got a good weapon at the moment. Of 14.
Warning. Sentinel probes activated.
10. I usually stack these, so I'm doing more than one at once, but kind of got to the point where I'm not that bothered about the missions now, because I've got most of the things I want from them. I always think the pineapples like this, when you shoot them, you should get sliced pineapple or diced pineapple, not offal sacks.
Warning. Sentinel probes activated.
12. 13. 14. That's it, isn't it? So I've done the missions. I'm not going to wait for the next round of the countermeasures, because that would be another hour and a half. So next I'm going to talk about the leak that I was thinking the other day still could be relevant, and we have to take leaks with a pinch of salt, but if you're not really the type of person that wants spoilers for potential leaks of what the next update will be, then after I've claimed this mission is probably the point where you don't want to be watching. Because I will be spoiling, potentially spoiling the anniversary update. Who knows? I don't know. This will be the last. Don't want any more of those. And I think, yeah, I've got 60 slots there, and I've also got 60 slots there. That's about where I usually leave it. So I've got something I can put below the fold. And I've got one multi-tool slot. That must have come from that kill the creature mission. Okay, so the leak. Now, Captain Steve made a really good video about this, so I would say if you really want to thoroughly analyze the leak, like he goes through the entire text, then go and have a look at his video. And I'll pull, if I put my browser on the screen, I can show you which video that is. Where's my browser? Nope. What are we on at the moment? Nearly 40. There it is. And if you just go to Captain Steve's play and type in leak here, then this is the most recent one that comes up 2 weeks ago. No Man's Sky potential spoiler leak, Hive Mind Part 1. Is this legit? Now, this was a leak from Reddit, and nobody knows if it's true or not. And certainly a lot of people took it as meaning that the very next update was going to be this information. But it isn't necessarily. Sometimes these leaks, as we had previously, we had a leak that was quite convincing, and then the next couple of updates, none of that happened, and people said, oh, it was obviously rubbish. But then over the next year, almost everything happened, depending on how you interpreted the way he was talking about things. For instance, he would talk about how, I'm saying he, I don't know who leaked it, they would talk about specific planets that were further from the sun. Now, that doesn't mean anything, and most No Man's Sky players would say that's meaningless. But what he was actually referring to probably was the higher number planets, so planets 5 and 6. And those are technically, as far as the system's concerned, the furthest from the star, but we don't really see that when we go into a system. And he was saying that there were going to be unusual things in those, and sure enough, when Origins came out, we got some unusual planets in that system. Now, we don't know if this is the same leaker. He used to leak on 4chan. I don't think many people use 4chan anymore. So whether this is the same person just leaking something on Reddit, who knows? The post lasted on Reddit for about a day, if that, and some of the moderators deleted it because there is a policy on the No Man's Sky the game Reddit that leaks are not allowed. You're not supposed to be spoiling potential things for other players. There are other places for that, like this video, for instance. And spoiler warnings, I'm going to go into what they said. Now, I'm going to pull it up on the screen, but I'm not going to show it because there is no way of showing it apart from like showing other people's videos now because it was taken down. So I'll read out the gist of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. They said that the update would be called Hive Mind. Now, Hive Mind makes you think of swarms and makes you think of that hive thing that's in the sky in the expedition. So immediately you think, are they actually talking about the anniversary update as opposed to the swarm update? And it says it's primarily about the Void Mother and a new race called a Hiveborn. Now, this expedition has Void Mother elements, and we are seeing new things coming into the game. A new race is something that many of us would predict. So something that many of us predict could just mean that they're just giving us what we want to hear, and it's not really a leak. But you know, it's an informed guess at best. Unlike previous years where the larger updates land in late summer, this is the big summer update. These are the features. Now, if it comes out in July, then that is slightly earlier than many of them, but then that would also coincide with the 10th anniversary. This person that's leaking it may not have fully understood the 10th anniversary. So, and sometimes I think if you're reading the leak and they're displaying a little bit of ignorance of how the game works, and they wouldn't say these things if they knew how the game worked, or how No Man's Sky works, or how Hello Games works. Sometimes I think they're actually got more potential truth because they're not kind of players that would know what to say to make it convincing. So these are the features of this new race. Highborn, a new race that comes in two separate species, infected and normal. And the infected are hostile. They have their own unique ship types that the player must disable using a new weapon, a nullifier. Now, I would usually think that sounds a bit unlikely, but we are literally in the middle of an expedition now, and this leak came out before the expedition, where we're going to get some new technology to fight this hive. So, I mean, I think I've still got the game running in the background. If I minimize my browser a second, and we look at the expedition. Phase 3 it says there, ward against the hive of glass. I reckon we're going to get given some new piece of technology that allows us to fight that big hive thing in space. What was it called again? Emperor of Glass, that hive of glass. I reckon we're going to get some new technology to fight against it. We might get more than one thing. We might get more than a shield or a ward. We might also get a weapon, like a nullifier. It could also just be the same thing. Once you've got this ward in place, nullifier, ward, that does sound quite similar. Once you've got that in place, maybe that implies that the leaker was correct, because it kind of lines up with what we're seeing on 2 or 3 levels now. We've got the fact that we've got a new race. We're seeing swarms, so that could be a new type of ship. We're seeing something that is hive related, and we're seeing potentially a piece of technology that they mention. Just pull up my notes again. Now it says, where was I? The new race. Only unique ship types the player must disable using a new weapon, a nullifier. These ships are only found around hive-infected worlds. Now, one of the things that we have been expecting as No Man's Sky players is a new form of world, because, again, lining up with what we're seeing, if we go to my other save, now the Boundary Horror, when we look in the save file, the reason we can't get it to lay eggs is because it has, I think this one's the red biome, and the, which is the other one, this one, the crab, is it the crab? I think it's the crab. No, it's not the crab. Sorry, I'm getting confused. It's this one. The Corrupted Quad has the blue biome. We can't find those biomes. I've been to every single planet that could be described as a blue planet, including all of the things like missing blue or whatever, all of those different planets. Nothing, couldn't get that to lay an egg. Same with the boundary. So it makes us think maybe there's a new biome that's coming out soon. It's actually pushing me along, that's a bit weird. So that lines up. But the way that the the way that the leak is worded, to me, doesn't suggest they really understand these things or know about them.
Why this guy's doing the MJ moonwalk though, XD?
So the fact that we might get a new biome does suggest that's something I would be expecting. They contain a new drive that helps the player navigate to infected star systems. Now, infected star systems, if they were brand new systems, we would need a new drive. So that kind of lines up, suggests they kind of know the game. The infected hiveborn look like diseased autophages with deep purple pimple things. They fly ships, they have their own minotaurs, and even can be found at abandoned factories and fought on foot. NPCs that we can fight on foot is something that many, many people have wanted to see. And I've always said we won't see that if we have human players on foot, because I don't think Hello Games would really want to potentially drift into a higher age rating. So if we're shooting humanoids, they would have to be clearly not human. And even YouTube is going to be more strict about things. So when GTA comes out, there could be problems with people streaming that. They might have to actually have a higher age rating for that, for instance. Whereas these would be clearly non-human by the sound of it. So that could line up. People want on foot NPCs that they can fight. These could be kind of autophage-like, mechanical kind of creatures, clearly the bad guys, but not actually necessarily humans. So that could work for me. That kind of makes sense as well. So they look like diseased autophages with deep purple pimple things. They fly ships. They have their minotaurs and can be found at abandoned factories and fought on foot.
Says, well, I didn't know that a game's age rating is related to that.
It can be. It depends on the rest of the game, but you have to be a bit careful. So if you have humans that are clearly going to be gunned down, then it depends how you handle it, in what context it is, and the rest of the game and what other things could be seen as adult. So yes, it can be. And the age rating of No Man's Sky has already gone up a little bit. It started off at about 7, I think, and now it's in the 12-13 range, I believe. Can't remember exactly. So they don't really want to drift it to 15 or 18 or whatever it would be. Okay, so the next part, normal hiveborn, i.e. the non-infected ones, look like autophages that are purple. And it goes on to be a bit commenting here, as if they've actually seen this. It's kind of lame. They don't do much other than give quest steps for a small story about the origin of the void. Now, okay, they're saying that doesn't sound like much fun. But what they may not realise is that the way that Hello Games always introduce new content is they have a short story. So, for instance, when we first got, as an example of something that happened recently, when we first got these new pets that we're seeing on screen, we had to complete something through Oceanus. We had to go to Oceanus. He would give us a mission. He would tell us to go and do stuff. And it actually comes up as a mission in our mission log. And we have to progress through that before we can then fully engage with the content. This happens quite a lot. So it's quite possible that that also fits with how the game would normally operate if new content was being brought out. We would have to go through something to be introduced to these different characters and to understand what they were about. So this person thinks it's a bit lame, but it would make perfect sense regardless. They can be found in derelict freighters of all places. Now that's interesting because derelict freighters are something that desperately need a bit more work. And to have a new NPC type that introduces a story element, that's also a good way of staging it out. People don't go to derelict freighters earlier to save, so it could be later content, but it doesn't have to be quite as late as, say, autophase. So it could theoretically be slotted in a little bit earlier than when we first meet the autophase. Just guessing here, it could be late game content. Who knows? Hive worlds are a unique world that can be found in most star systems. They have unique weather called void storms that rapidly chunk, that's a weird choice of word, the player's health. So obviously it's taking chunks out of the player's health. They also have really cool lighting. They have similar world gen, but the unique plants and animal variants are infected. Now, it's interesting they say they have similar world gen. So again, I think they might understand the game to a certain level, because they're probably understanding that purple systems have a different world gen. And we would expect with a new type of system to have a slightly different world generation. So similar as opposed to the same. And to even mention world generation, again, kind of lines up. In fact, they might not be as familiar with the way that purple systems are different world gen to us. So they might be thinking, oh, well, I've heard that they've got similar world gen, and they've just recited that. So again, I think it starts to sound a bit genuine when you get those kind of wording. Infected star systems are a tier above hard hive worlds. They have unique terrain, buildings, and life. That's actually quite impressive, with most of the things looking sick or unnatural, i.e. not sick as in cool, but sick as in looking sickly and unnatural. So again, what they're saying here is that we can have things that we can find in most systems, i.e. worlds that have these things, a little bit like the current dissonant worlds, possibly a reworking of the dissonant worlds, and also entire systems where we can go where everything's like this. So it's kind of got a staged approach where we can see these worlds and then we can go and find even more worlds. I quite like that idea, and that would be quite unusual for this game. So something that most people wouldn't just come out with as a speculation. A cool addition is they have overhauled ships. Most ships are now 2 or 3 times bigger, non-player built ones that can be entered. Now that's an interesting idea. They say, I don't know whether they mean we can walk around them like Corvettes. So again, it sounds like they're hearing this as hearsay from someone that's in the know, as opposed to someone who has actually played this. And yet that contradicts a little bit, because they're saying, oh, these look sick. Maybe they've seen some pictures. It's difficult to say there. But it's an interesting idea that we could have larger ships. So not Corvettes. So ships that are kind of similar to this, but we can actually walk into. And again, people have often asked, why can't we walk into haulers? So maybe they're bringing a certain element of that, of non-Corvette walkable ships that are a little bit smaller, not quite as expansive. Let me just give him something to eat. So again, to me, that feels like something that we could see. Not something I would speculate on myself, but it does kind of make sense. They added completely procedural ships that NPCs can pilot. You can disable the ship's previously mentioned nullifier and kill the NPC inside to claim it. Now that makes it sound different. You can disable the ship's previously mentioned nullifier. So that makes you wonder if the nullifier is a technology that they have and we don't have. I don't know. That's slightly contradictory, but it could make sense. Kill the NPC inside to claim it. And then they go on to say this is sounding more like GTA. I know I think that's Captain Steve, because I'm reading a transcript of his, so ignore that bit. I recognise that as something Captain Steve might say. quality of life, animal variation hasn't really been touched. I think that's probably the meat of it. Oh, and it mentions a new expedition called Exorcism. And I reckon they thought that's a silly name. Or exorcism. And I reckon that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the expedition, which turned out to be Hive, the swarm rather. So that's the reveal. That's what the person leaked. As I say, we don't know if it's real. We don't know if that's actually what they're doing. We can't be sure when somebody says they're leaking something. But there are a few things there that kind of line up. And bear in mind, this came out before this expedition released. And there are things that really do line up with this expedition. So I would say, I would maybe trust it, and we'll see what happens. And that's all we can really say. We'll see what happens. We don't really know. We'll find out after this. But there's no doubt about it. No, I'm not in my expedition save now. There's no doubt about it that this expedition feels like it's leading up to something. It feels like a slow reveal. We're seeing things coming into the game that we wouldn't have seen before, and it feels like we might see more of that at a later date. So again, it does feel like it lines up with what we're seeing. And although I would be hesitant to say this is definitely true, I reckon it's 60-70% likely. We'll see. So anyway, I promised I would only talk about that at the end of the stream so people could drop out if they didn't want to see what that leak was. But I'm going to say goodbye now. So I've been Pharaoh, travel well, and goodbye for now.